Long Island's quiet coastal towns concealed dark secrets as bodies were discovered along the shoreline. Residents were shocked to learn that young women vanished, leaving minimal clues behind for authorities for years. Families feared their daughters' disappearances would never be solved. Hoping for answers, the first remains were found near Gilgo Beach, sparking a high-profile investigation into serial killings. Detectives combed the sandy beaches, examining each discovery for evidence, trying to identify the killer. Victims were linked by lifestyle, work in escort services, and geographic patterns across Long Island. Authorities established task forces, combining local, state, and federal resources for the complex case. Media coverage intensified, putting pressure on law enforcement to provide updates and maintain public safety. Each discovery brought renewed fear and grief to families. While investigators pieced together connections, patterns emerged suggesting a single killer, or possibly multiple offenders, operating across wide areas. Investigators realized the disappearances were not isolated incidents but part of a larger hidden pattern. Phone records revealed disturbing calls made to victims' families, increasing fear and public urgency. The killer appeared organized, patient, and confident enough to evade detection for many years. Beaches once associated with summer leisure became symbols of dread and unanswered questions. Each new discovery forced detectives to reconsider timelines, victim profiles, and possible suspects. Families demanded accountability, believing critical mistakes had delayed justice for too long. Internal conflicts and jurisdictional issues slowed progress during the early years of investigation. Evidence gaps and lost opportunities haunted the case, fueling criticism of law enforcement leadership. Despite setbacks, investigators continued re-examining evidence as technology slowly advanced. The case lingered unresolved, becoming one of America's most disturbing unsolved serial murder mysteries. Investigators studied victim routines, last contacts, and travel paths to identify points of interception. The killer's use of remote dumping sites suggested familiarity with coastal terrain and tidal patterns. Evidence indicated careful planning, minimizing traces while maximizing distance from primary crime scenes. Public tips surged as residents reported suspicious vehicles, behaviors, and late-night movements. Task force analysts mapped cell tower pings to narrow potential travel corridors used by the suspect. Autopsies revealed similarities pointing toward consistent methods, reinforcing serial offender theories. Media scrutiny intensified as pressure mounted for arrests amid growing public fear and frustration. Families organized advocacy groups to keep attention on the victims and demand investigative transparency. Years passed with few answers, allowing the suspect to remain hidden within ordinary daily life. The coastline held its silence while the investigation awaited a breakthrough to expose the truth. Investigators re-examined early assumptions, realizing missed connections may have delayed crucial progress. Advances in forensic technology offered renewed hope for extracting usable DNA from older evidence. Analysts revisited phone records, financial trails, and burner devices linked to victim communications. Behavioral profilers suggested the killer enjoyed control, anonymity, and prolonged psychological dominance. Law enforcement faced criticism for fragmented leadership and lack of unified command during early years. Task force members emphasized patience, knowing complex cases often require time to reveal patterns. Each confirmed victim added urgency, grief, and pressure to an already strained investigation. Families endured years of uncertainty, haunted by silence and unanswered questions about their loved ones. The beaches remained deceptively peaceful, masking a history of calculated violence beneath the sand. Investigators believed the truth was hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to surface. Detectives coordinated quietly, sharing intelligence across agencies to prevent leaks that could alert suspects. Geographic profiling highlighted access routes, secluded pull-offs, and familiarity with Long Island backroads. Investigators studied tide charts and seasonal patterns to understand timing of body disposal along beaches. Victimology reviews emphasized similarities in age, circumstances, and vulnerabilities exploited by the killer. Cold case reviews uncovered overlooked interviews that gained new relevance under modern analytical methods. Community trust fluctuated as years passed without arrests, fueling doubt and persistent public anxiety. Media documentaries revived interest, bringing fresh tips but also misinformation requiring careful vetting. Detectives balanced renewed attention with evidence integrity, protecting facts from contamination or bias. Families remained resilient, organizing vigils and Advocacy to keep pressure focused on accountability. The case persisted as a reminder that patience, precision, and persistence are essential to uncover truth. Investigators revisited suspect lists, reassessing individuals once dismissed due to limited early evidence. Advances in data analysis allowed patterns to emerge that were previously invisible to early task forces. Behavioral timelines suggested the offender adapted methods to avoid detection as awareness increased. Analysts examined vehicle ownership records tied to cell tower activity near dumping locations. Forensic genealogy emerged as a potential tool, offering hope where traditional DNA analysis failed. Law enforcement leadership changes brought renewed focus, accountability, and structured coordination. Families cautiously welcomed progress while guarding against disappointment after years of false starts. Each procedural correction aimed to rebuild public trust damaged by prolonged investigative stagnation. The coastline remained unchanged, yet its history weighed heavily on those seeking answers. Investigators believed persistence and evolving science would eventually expose the hidden offender. Detectives intensified collaboration, ensuring every new lead was reviewed with fresh perspective and caution. Recovered evidence was reprocessed using modern techniques unavailable during the earliest investigation years. Analysts reviewed suspect movements against disappearance dates to identify overlapping travel patterns. Behavioral experts suggested the offender blended easily into society, avoiding attention through routine life. Investigators examined employment records that could explain flexible schedules and coastal familiarity. Public confidence slowly shifted as officials communicated clearer strategies and investigative milestones. Media scrutiny remained intense, demanding transparency while risking pressure-driven mistakes. Families measured progress carefully, balancing hope with memories of previous investigative setbacks. Each confirmed link strengthened the theory of a single calculating offender operating for many years. The case approached a critical phase, where accumulated evidence hinted that answers were finally near. Investigators understood that timing mattered, knowing one decisive link could collapse years of secrecy. Analysts refined geographic models, narrowing zones where the suspect likely lived or frequently traveled. Recovered communications were re-examined to trace patterns of manipulation and calculated control. Law enforcement prepared quietly, ensuring any future arrest would withstand intense legal scrutiny. Families sensed momentum building, though justice had taught them patience through prolonged silence. The beaches appeared unchanged, yet investigators now viewed them as a final map of the killer's choices. Each step forward was carefully documented to prevent errors that once stalled the investigation. Officials avoided public speculation, prioritizing evidence integrity over media-driven conclusions. Years of persistence converged as technology, data, and discipline aligned. At last, the first chapter closed with belief that the truth was no longer distant, only carefully concealed. With renewed momentum, investigators expanded surveillance efforts while quietly monitoring priority suspects. Analysts compared historical phone data against updated timelines to expose inconsistencies. Once overlooked behavioral assessments suggested escalating confidence as the offender evaded capture for extended periods.
Review the evidence.
Task force leaders
Share updates.
emphasized
Access
discipline,
granted. Proceed.
ensuring
Controlled
no
dissemination
detail
only.
leaked that
Evidence
could
secured.
compromise
We are
future
following the
actions.
latest
Families followed
developments and will
developments
provide
cautiously,
updates as they come
aware
in.
that premature
Officials urge the
optimism
public to remain calm.
had failed them before law enforcement reviewed financial records seeking unexplained expenses linked to travel or equipment. Geographic profiling tightened, focusing attention on specific corridors connecting disposal locations. Each verified data point reduced uncertainty, slowly transforming speculation into measurable proof. Investigators prepared contingency plans, anticipating resistance. Once the suspect realized pressure mounting, the investigation entered a decisive stage where precision mattered more than speed or public demands. Investigators cross-checked suspect alibis against traffic data, toll records, and surveillance timestamps. Digital analysts reconstructed deleted communications, revealing fragments that suggested deliberate planning. Behavioral profilers noted patience and control, traits consistent with
Chose to get
long-term
proof,
evasion. And
checking
confidence task
every
force
lead,
meetings focused
rejecting
on verification,
unverified claims.
refusing assumptions without corroborated supporting evidence. Families demanded accountability, while investigators shielded sensitive steps from premature disclosure. Financial records were scrutinized for patterns indicating disposable income linked to suspect movements. Geographic models converged, narrowing the search area to zones repeatedly intersecting victim routes. Each confirmed linkage strengthened prosecutorial foundations required for future court proceedings. Officials prepared warrants cautiously, understanding legal determine ultimate outcomes the case advanced. Quietly, driven by discipline, data, and lessons learned from years of delay, investigators aligned evidence
multiple sources confirming
ensuring each
event.
movement was supported by independent sources. Analysts tested alternative theories, eliminating coincidences to isolate intentional suspect behavior. Forensic teams revisited storage methods, confirming chain of custody remained
You run
intact
risk of
over
suspect
many years.
fleeing,
Behavioral experts
destruction
advised
of
caution,
evidence,
warning that
planning
pressure
accordingly.
could trigger flight or destruction of evidence. Surveillance strategies adjusted, prioritizing discretion
We have
over
updates on the
visibility to
situation.
avoid
How are our
alerting the
loved ones?
suspect. Families
Yes, are they
received
safe?
limited
They are
updates.
stable. More details
Balancing
soon.
transparency
The evidence
with
requirements
the
are
need
clear.
to protect
We need to
investigative
establish a
integrity.
solid chain of
Prosecutors
custody and
consulted
ensure all
early,
documentation
guiding
is
evidence
meticulous.
standards
And the trigger
required for
camera.
sustainable criminal charges. Each review cycle reduced ambiguity, converting circumstantial
With this for
clues
inspect,
into
we
structured
need to be
factual
patient
narratives.
and make
Task
cautious
force
decisions.
leaders emphasized
Absolutely,
restraint,
careful planning is
knowing
crucial here.
premature action could unravel years of progress. The investigation moved forward methodically, approaching a threshold where decisive action became inevitable. Investigators coordinated with neighboring jurisdictions to track potential cross-county travel patterns. Analysts reviewed online communications, seeking hidden codes, deleted messages, and cryptic references. Forensic teams tested evidence against updated databases, uncovering previously missed genetic matches. Behavioral profilers highlighted a meticulous offender who avoided detection through predictable routines. Law enforcement maintained confidentiality, preventing leaks that could compromise the delicate operation. Families remained cautiously hopeful, aware that patience and precision were essential for resolution. Geographic profiling integrated environmental and temporal data to anticipate future locations or movements. Each verified lead was documented meticulously, creating a comprehensive timeline for prosecutorial review. Investigators balanced urgency with caution, ensuring every action preserved evidentiary credibility. The task force continued diligently, convinced that persistence would ultimately expose the hidden offender. Investigators focused on triangulating last known locations to map the suspect's possible movements precisely. Analysts scrutinized vehicle registrations near crime sites, searching for patterns across the investigation. Forensic experts re-examined trace evidence, confirming links between victims and disposal locations. Definitively, behavioral profiling suggested careful planning, emphasizing secrecy, patience, and adaptability by the offender. Task force leaders coordinated evidence sharing, ensuring that no detail remained siloed or unexamined. Families were briefed periodically, balancing reassurance with caution about premature conclusions in the case. Geographic models integrated temporal patterns, highlighting likely routes and key locations for surveillance. Each investigative step was documented meticulously to maintain an unbroken chain of proof for future use. Detectives refined strategies, using predictive analysis to anticipate potential movements or disposal actions. The investigation pressed forward, guided by methodical work, patience, and years of accumulated insight. Analysts cross-referenced communications, financial activity, and travel logs to detect suspect patterns clearly. Surveillance footage was reviewed repeatedly, focusing on subtle movements or unexplained presence nearby. Behavioral experts emphasized control, patience, and calculated manipulation as hallmarks of the offender. Investigators coordinated quietly to maintain secrecy, preventing any tips from alerting the suspect.
These messages
Prematurely,
appear
families
deleted, but
remained
let's recover
vigilant,
them. The tool scans the device and rebuilds the deleted data.
Attention stayed focused on victims. Geographic profiling refined likely zones, highlighting repeated intersections with disposal
The
and
timeline
pickup
has
locations.
inconsistencies.
Digital
Check the warehouse
evidence
logs.
was
On it, the
re-examined
forensic
to
match
uncover
92%.
deleted
Good.
or hidden
Cross-check with the
messages that
suspect's
could
alibi.
identify the suspect. Task force teams worked systematically, ensuring each lead was verified
for the
before
ghost
further
machines.
investigative steps. Investigators understood that patience, accuracy, and discipline were critical to achieving eventual justice. The case remained active, with each analyzed detail bringing the team incrementally closer to resolution. Investigators meticulously documented every interaction, call, and sighting related to the victim's last hours. Analysts compared timestamps across communications to detect anomalies suggesting suspect involvement. Behavioral profilers highlighted the offender's ability to blend into society and avoid detection consistently. Task force coordination intensified, ensuring leads were followed systematically without oversight or delay. Families continued advocacy, pressing for transparency while respecting investigative protocols and discretion. Geographic profiling integrated movement, disposal, and access patterns to narrow the potential suspect zone's forensic. Reanalysis included retesting samples with advanced techniques to uncover previously missed evidence. Each procedural update strengthens the foundation for potential prosecution once a suspect was identified. Investigators balanced public interest with confidentiality to preserve the integrity of ongoing operations. The investigation advanced cautiously, knowing one misstep could compromise years of painstaking
Threat
work.
confirmed. All units
Investigators
report
analyzed
status.
environmental
SWAT is green.
conditions,
Perimeter secure.
noting
Chatter
tides,
matches. Origin
weather,
is East sector.
and seasonal
In stream,
changes
show
near
selective
disposal sites.
updates,
Analysts cross-checked
careful
surveillance,
communication,
witness reports, and phone activity to refine suspect movement patterns. Behavioral experts emphasized meticulous planning, patience, and adaptability as consistent traits of the offender. Task force leaders ensured that coordination across agencies prevented duplication and maintained efficiency. Families were updated selectively. Balancing
clear
hope with
briefings
the
are essential to
understanding
restoring
that
trust.
premature
With
conclusions
transparency
could
and
mislead.
consistency, we can
Geographic
rebuild
modeling
confidence.
highlighted repeated
Clear
intersections and zones
clear
likely
briefings,
familiar to the
restoring
unknown
trust.
offender. Digital forensic teams re-examined communications, uncovering hidden or deleted messages that could provide clues. Each verified lead contributed incrementally, building a comprehensive timeline of the suspect's possible actions. Investigators preserved evidence integrity meticulously to withstand scrutiny during future legal proceedings. The case moved forward systematically, driven by detailed analysis, patience, and relentless investigative focus. Investigators began the final phase, carefully reviewing evidence and mapping all potential suspect zones. Analysts scrutinized historical patterns, identifying recurring movements and connections across timelines. Behavioral profilers highlighted traits of control, patience, and calculated anonymity in the unknown offender. Task force leaders coordinated cross-agency intelligence sharing to ensure no leads remained overlooked. Families continued advocacy, pressing for answers while cautiously managing expectations about progress. Geographic profiling focused on coastal access points, routes, and secluded locations near disposal areas. Digital evidence was re-examined, with attention to deleted messages, metadata, and location signals. Each verified lead was documented in detail, preserving accuracy for potential prosecutorial use. Later, investigators balanced urgency with caution, knowing premature action could compromise the ongoing case. The final investigative phase proceeded methodically, guided by years of experience, patience, and data. Analysts cross-referenced communications, financial activity, and travel logs to detect suspect patterns clearly. Surveillance footage was reviewed repeatedly, focusing on subtle movements or unexplained presence nearby. Behavioral experts emphasized control, patience, and calculated manipulation as hallmarks of the offender. Investigators coordinated quietly to maintain secrecy, preventing any tips from alerting the suspect prematurely. Families remained vigilant, organizing support groups to ensure public attention stayed focused on victims. Geographic profiling refined likely zones, highlighting repeated intersections with disposal and pickup locations. Digital evidence was re-examined to uncover deleted or hidden messages that could identify the suspect. Task force teams worked systematically, ensuring each lead was verified before further investigative steps. Investigators understood that patience, accuracy, and discipline were critical to achieving eventual justice. The case remained active, with each analyzed detail bringing the team incrementally closer to resolution. Analysts cross-referenced communications, financial activity, and travel logs to detect suspect patterns clearly. Surveillance footage was reviewed repeatedly, focusing on subtle movements or unexplained presence nearby. Behavioral experts emphasized control, patience, and calculated manipulation as hallmarks of the offender. Investigators coordinated quietly to maintain secrecy, preventing any tips from alerting the suspect prematurely. Families remained vigilant, organizing support groups to ensure public attention stayed focused on victims. Geographic profiling refined likely zones, highlighting repeated intersections with disposal and pickup locations. Digital evidence was re-examined to uncover deleted or hidden messages that could identify the suspect. Task force teams worked systematically, ensuring each lead was verified before further investigative steps. Investigators understood that patience, accuracy, and discipline were critical to achieving eventual justice. The case remained active, with each analyzed detail bringing the team incrementally closer to resolution. Investigators compiled cross-jurisdictional data, Ensuring no lead went unexamined across county lines, analysts revisited timelines, comparing sightings, phone activity, and surveillance for hidden correlations. Behavioral experts emphasized meticulous planning, adaptability, and control as traits of the unknown. Offender task force leaders coordinated quietly, maintaining confidentiality while expanding the investigative network. Families remained cautiously hopeful, balancing optimism with the experience of past investigative delays. Geographic profiling focused on intersections of known activity, identifying zones with the highest probability. Digital evidence was reanalyzed to detect deleted messages, encrypted communications, or metadata anomalies. Each verified lead contributed to a comprehensive timeline, gradually revealing the offender's methodical patterns. Investigators ensured evidence integrity, documenting every step meticulously for potential legal proceedings. The case moved forward with patience and precision, combining data, expertise, and unwavering persistence. Investigators examined transportation records, noting vehicle rentals, toll usage, and fuel purchases carefully. Analysts cross-referenced digital footprints, highlighting correlations between communications and suspect locations. Behavioral profilers highlighted the offender's ability to evade detection through routine and calculated movements. Task force meetings emphasized strategy, coordination, and evidence verification across multiple investigative teams. Families were briefed selectively, balancing transparency with protection of sensitive details in the ongoing case. Geographic analysis refined search areas, focusing on zones intersecting victim patterns and disposal locations. Digital forensic teams recovered deleted files and metadata, uncovering subtle clues previously overlooked or ignored. Each lead was meticulously documented, creating a comprehensive investigative record for future judicial review. Investigators balanced urgency with caution, understanding the need for accuracy over speed in complex operations. The investigation progressed systematically, combining technology, expertise, and years of methodical effort. Investigators analyzed environmental data, considering tides, weather, and seasonal factors near disposal sites. Analysts cross-checked witness accounts with digital logs to identify inconsistencies and hidden correlations. Behavioral profilers emphasized calculated patience, secrecy, and adaptability as key traits of the offender. Task force coordination ensured evidence was shared efficiently across agencies without compromising integrity. Families maintained vigilance, organizing support networks to focus attention on victims and ongoing progress. Geographic profiling identified repeated access points, routes, and locations frequently intersected by the suspect. Digital forensic teams re-examined communications, uncovering hidden messages, deleted content, and metadata. Each confirmed lead was recorded meticulously, preserving an unbroken chain of proof for prosecutorial use. Investigators maintained patience and precision, understanding that careful work would ultimately reveal the truth. The case advanced methodically, relying on analytical insight, forensic science, and tireless investigative effort. Investigators reviewed historical surveillance footage, looking for patterns or repeated appearances carefully. Analysts mapped digital communications, phone activity, and location data to reveal potential suspect behavior. Behavioral profilers highlighted the offender's ability to blend into ordinary routines undetected for years. Task force meetings emphasized verification, ensuring no assumptions were made without corroborated evidence. Families continued advocacy, pressing for accountability while respecting the confidentiality of investigations. Geographic profiling integrated movement, access, and disposal patterns to pinpoint zones of likely offender activity. Digital forensic teams recovered deleted files, analyzed metadata, and examined encrypted messages for clues. Each investigative action was documented meticulously, maintaining integrity for future judicial proceedings. Investigators balanced urgency and patience, knowing accuracy was essential for eventual prosecution success. The investigation advanced systematically, combining forensic science, behavioral insight, and disciplined analysis. Investigators coordinated final review sessions, ensuring all evidence was analyzed before conclusion steps. Analysts compared previous case files to current findings, identifying overlooked connections and anomalies. Behavioral profilers reinforced that the offender's calculated patience increased risk of undetected movement. Task force leaders monitored progress closely, maintaining communication without compromising sensitive leads. Families remained cautiously optimistic, Aware that patience and methodical work were essential for justice, geographic profiling highlighted previously unnoticed zones of repeated activity and possible access points. Digital forensic teams re-examined deleted messages, metadata, and encrypted communications for hidden clues. Each lead was meticulously logged, creating a comprehensive and defensible record for potential court proceedings. Investigators continued balancing speed with precision, understanding one mistake could compromise the entire case. The investigation approached a critical threshold, where accumulated analysis would guide decisive law enforcement action. Investigators began the final phase, reviewing evidence and mapping all possible movements of the suspect. Analysts examined historical data, identifying patterns of repeated activity and potential future locations. Behavioral profilers emphasized the offender's patience, meticulous planning, and skillful concealment methods. Task force leaders coordinated across agencies to ensure all intelligence and leads were properly shared. Families maintained cautious hope, understanding that persistence and thorough investigation were essential. Geographic profiling focused on coastal areas, access routes, and remote locations near disposal zones. Digital forensic teams reanalyzed messages, metadata, and location data to uncover hidden clues or anomalies. Each verified lead was recorded systematically, preserving integrity for future judicial and prosecutorial use. Investigators balanced urgency with precision, knowing any misstep could compromise ongoing operations. The final phase continued methodically, guided by experience, forensic expertise, and careful analytical work. Analysts cross-checked witness statements and digital logs to identify discrepancies and hidden connections clearly. Investigators reviewed transportation records, focusing on vehicle rentals, toll usage, and fuel purchase patterns. Behavioral profilers highlighted the offender's ability to blend seamlessly into ordinary routines without detection. Task force meetings emphasized strategy, evidence verification, and coordination across multiple investigative teams. Families received selective briefings, balancing transparency with the need to protect sensitive investigative details. Geographic profiling narrowed search areas, focusing on intersections of victim activity and potential disposal zones. Digital forensic teams recovered deleted files, analyzed metadata, and examined encrypted communications for evidence. Each confirmed lead was meticulously documented, building a comprehensive record for future judicial review. Investigators balanced speed with accuracy, understanding that precision was more critical than hasty action. The investigation progressed systematically, combining analytical insight, forensic science, and tireless persistence. Investigators analyzed environmental data, including tides, weather patterns, and seasonal changes near disposal sites. Analysts cross-checked witness accounts with surveillance footage to identify inconsistencies.
Filers highlighted
and
the killer's
confirmed
careful
timelines. Behavioral
patience,
profilers
secrecy,
emphasized
and ability to
calculated
adapt
patience,
as key
secrecy,
traits.
and
Opaque task
adaptability
force
as
coordination
hallmarks of the
ensured
unknown
agencies
offender.
shared
Task
evidence
force coordination
securely without
ensured
risking the
evidence sharing
investigation.
across
The confidence.
agencies without compromising operational security or integrity. Families maintained vigilance, organizing support networks to keep public attention focused on victims and progress. Geographic profiling
Geographic
identified
analysis found
repeated
recurring access points and routes the suspect used, revealing
highlighting
patterns.
Digital forensic teams re-examined communications, uncovering hidden messages, deleted content, and metadata anomalies. Each verified lead was logged meticulously, preserving an unbroken chain of evidence for potential prosecutorial use. Investigators balanced urgency and caution, understanding that careful work would ultimately lead to successful outcomes. The case advanced methodically, combining analytical insight,
Look for recurring
forensic
faces.
science,
There's one the cat
and relentless
who's at the warehouse.
investigative
That's our
dedication.
pattern.
Investigators reviewed surveillance footage repeatedly, looking for patterns or repeated appearances. Carefully, analysts mapped digital communications,
Profilers noted how the
phone
killer
activity,
blended into
and
everyday
location
life
data
without
to
being
reveal
noticed.
potential suspect behavior. Behavioral profilers highlighted the offender's ability to blend seamlessly into daily routines. Undetected task force meetings emphasized verification, ensuring no assumptions were made without corroborated evidence. Families continued advocacy, pressing for accountability while respecting the confidentiality of investigations. Geographic profiling integrated movement, access, and disposal patterns to pinpoint zones of likely offender activity. Digital forensic teams recovered deleted files, analyzed metadata, and examined encrypted messages for clues. Each investigative action was documented.
The case moved forward using forensic science, behavioral analysis, and disciplined methods.
Investigators balanced
We've gathered
urgency and
data from
patience.
several counties,
Knowing accuracy
so
was
no lead
essential
was
for
overlooked.
eventual prosecution success. The investigation advanced systematically, combining forensic science, behavioral insight, and disciplined analysis. Investigators
Profilers highlighted the killer's
cross-jurisdictional data,
and ability
ensuring
to
no
stay
lead
hidden
went
for long
unexamined
periods.
across multiple counties. Analysts revisited timelines, comparing sightings, phone activity, and surveillance footage for hidden correlations. Behavioral profilers noted the offender's calculated patience and ability to evade detection for extended periods. Task force leaders coordinated carefully, maintaining confidentiality.
Digital teams
while
analyzed
expanding
metadata to find subtle
investigative
links
networks
pointing to the
efficiently.
suspect's
Families
actions.
remained cautiously hopeful, aware that patience and methodical work were essential for justice. Geographic profiling highlighted zones of repeated activity, narrowing focus to high-probability areas for monitoring. Digital forensics examined communications metadata, revealing subtle links pointing toward the suspect's behavior. Each investigative step was meticulously documented, ensuring a comprehensive record for potential court proceedings. Investigators continued balancing speed with accuracy, knowing one mistake could compromise the entire
Killers
case.
stress
The
secrecy is
investigation
key.
approached
They hide their
critical
motives.
thresholds,
Patience and
where
adaptability make them
accumulated
elusive. We must
analysis
match that.
guided
Agreed.
decisive
No
law
mistake.
enforcement action. Investigators reviewed historical surveillance footage, seeking repeated
Must keep advocating and running awareness campaigns and pressure authorities carefully. I hear your concerns.
And
Geographic
data
analysis
to uncover patterns
focused
and
on
correlations.
recurring access
Behavioral
busts
profilers
and routes
emphasized
to narrow the
calculated
search area.
secrecy, patience, and adaptability as defining traits of the offender. Task force meetings ensured all teams were aligned, sharing verified evidence while maintaining operational security. Families continued to advocate for victims.
Balance speed with
organizing
precision.
awareness
Thorough work will
campaigns,
bring
and
success.
pressuring
Let's be
authorities.
thorough. The details will lead us to the
Carefully
truth.
geographic profiling focused on repeated access points and routes, narrowing down potential areas of interest.
Even the
Digital
detectives study
forensic
transport
teams recovered
records,
deleted
rentals,
files
tolls,
and metadata,
fuel,
uncovering
for
hidden
patterns.
communications
LIMS
and
has
vital
spent the
clues.
digital
Each lead was
traces to link
documented
communications
meticulously,
with suspect
creating
movement.
a comprehensive and defensible investigative
Profilers
record.
noted
Trial
the
investigators
killer's ability
balanced
to
urgency
blend
with
into
precision,
daily life
knowing
without
careful work
attracting
would ultimately
attention.
lead to successful
We're
resolution.
left and given
Investigation
limited
advanced
updates to
methodically,
protect
relying
sensitive investigation
on
details.
forensic science,
And on
behavioral
FlexNet,
insight,
the
and
families were
relentless
given limited
analysis.
updates to
Investigators
protect
analyzed
sensitive
transportation
investigation
records,
details.
Geographic
including rentals,
analysis narrowed down
tolls, and fuel
zones
purchases
where
for
victim patterns
Carefully,
met
analysts
dumping or
cross-checked
pickup
digital
sites.
footprints, identifying correlations between communications and suspect movements. Behavioral profilers highlighted the offender's skill in blending into ordinary routines without raising suspicion. Task force meetings emphasized strategy, evidence verification, and interagency coordination. For maximum efficiency, families received selective briefings, balancing transparency with protection of sensitive investigative details. Geographic profiling narrowed focus to zones intersecting victim activity and potential disposal or pickup locations. Digital forensic teams recovered deleted files, analyzed metadata, and examined encrypted communications thoroughly. Each confirmed lead was meticulously documented, creating a comprehensive record for future judicial review. Investigators maintained patience and precision, understanding that one misstep could compromise the entire case. The investigation progressed systematically, combining analytical insight, forensic science, and disciplined persistence. Prosecutors quietly prepared legal frameworks, anticipating arrests while ensuring evidence met strict standards. Cold case analysts revisited overlooked tips, comparing them against newly discovered timelines and data points. Surveillance strategies evolved, using discrete observation methods to avoid alerting potential suspects prematurely. Investigators balanced urgency with restraint, knowing public pressure could never
Profilers
replace
noted how the
procedural
killer
accuracy.
blended into
Community
everyday
briefings
life without
emphasized
being
safety
noticed.
awareness while avoiding details that might interfere with ongoing operations. Forensic laboratories finalized reports, confirming consistencies that strengthened the case narrative significantly. Digital analysts mapped online behavior, tracing anonymous searches and activities linked to critical locations. Each verified connection reduced uncertainty, transforming fragmented clues into a coherent investigative picture. Authorities prepared for the moment when silence would break and accountability would finally be demanded. The final phase approached steadily, as truth moved closer to the surface after years of unanswered questions.